Hello, I'm Matt Gillard, and welcome to another edition of Capital Corner, your weekly news and views on issues around early childhood, brought to you right from here from your state capital in Lansing. Well, the big news on the early childhood front certainly remains the passage late last week, of the Early Childhood Supplemental, HB 4445, which was the bill that we've been talking about for quite some time, included $12.5 million for two very critical early childhood programs. $3.25 million for the implementation of a statewide kindergarten entry assessment, and $9.25 million towards the implementation of the tiered quality rating and improvement system. These are two critical programs that will really be the bookends, I think, of a successful, comprehensive early childhood system here in Michigan. This has been a long process, and we commend the legislature for finally getting this done. If you can remember, this bill passed the Senate way back before Christmas with a real strong vote, I think, of 35-3. The final version that ended up passing both the House and the Senate late last week did not have such strong showing, and that's because another issue got wrapped up into the same bill. One of the big issues that dominated the mainstream news media last week was the Highland Park schools issue and schools debate. The legislature needed to pass a measure to provide some funding for Highland Park schools from an emergency situation dealing with a number of issues that are going on with that public school district. So they ended up putting that measure, those dollars, into this early childhood supplemental bill. That ended up causing the vast majority of the Democrats in the legislature to vote against HB 4445, but ultimately the measure still did pass, mostly along a party line vote, with legislative Republicans in support and Democrats opposed, not to the early childhood pieces, but opposed to the Highland Park measure that was included. At any rate, the issue did make it through both the House and the Senate, went on to the governor, and has already been signed into law. So this is very good news. And if you remember, this was an FY12, or a fiscal year 2012 supplemental, meaning that money is to be appropriated immediately. So that $12.5 million will be sent to the Office of Great Start in the Michigan Department of Education to get to work quickly on both of these programs. And so this is very exciting news, and look to hear more about both of these things and both of these measures as they start to take hold, and as we really start to get moving on both of these important projects. On the fiscal year 2013 budget, the legislature keeps working, keeps moving ahead. We're still basically in the informative stage, where the legislative subcommittees, the appropriation subcommittees for the various departmental budgets, are still hearing from the departments and from the governor's folks on what the governor's proposal is. We'll continue to follow all of the early childhood issues closely. Remember, a couple of them we talked about. There is increased funding in the governor's proposal for the Healthy Kids Dental Program. This is a very successful program that provides dental access, or dental services, access to dental care services to many Michigan children that are either eligible for Medicaid or My Child that otherwise would not have access to primary dental care. The governor proposed expanding that program by $25 million. Also, the governor called for relatively flat funding for most other early childhood programs in his budget, and so we'll continue to watch those as they move through the budget process. There will certainly be increasing activity on the fiscal year 2013 budget as the legislature continues to hold hearings and really looks to get this budget wrapped up, I think, probably by mid to late June at the latest. Once again, this is an election year in the House, so I think you'll see a concerted effort from the legislature to get this 2013 budget done in a time frame similar to what they did last year, where they were completely done with the budget by about the third week of June. So once again, thanks for tuning in, and tune in again next week for another update on early childhood issues in Capital Corner.